here via Facebook Live. SALGC, it's an abbreviation of the South African Leadership Gentlemen's Club. We are a national NPO for all men and boy child from the ages of
Alert
5.
from Google Chrome, Munro Global.
We are, my apologies about that. So we are a national NPO, non-racial one for all men and boys aged 5 years and older. The purpose for this club is developing men into outstanding and active leaders of their communities and homes. Normally we hear a lot of noise about leaders of tomorrow, create leaders of tomorrow. The question here at SALGC is, where are leaders of today for tomorrow? So we're creating leaders of today for tomorrow because our communities now are desperately in need of mentors, in need of leaders, in need of people who are selfless, men of outstanding conviction, who says, I'll stand for what I believe in, and I'll be an example to others, and I will, most importantly, mentor others and leave something behind. Not only monetary, but leave something in the minds of young men and men that are around me. So we have at this club women as well who supports the activities of this club, who supports the founding pillars of this club, and we call them Friends of SALGC. These are committed women who have a desk in this organization, who supports the activities and who sees it as biblical as it was defined, that God made a man once he had made the Garden of Eden, or the environment. He placed the man there, he gave the man a task, and once he noticed that the man was very lonely, he decides to get a partner for the man. And he made a man sleep. He brought a woman as a partner, as a friend, as a helper, as all you can think for the man. So Friends of SALGC are here as people who are here to help men to be actual leaders and to accomplish what they are meant to accomplish with their 5 founding pillars. So we encourage every man, every professional, everyone across the country who's listening, and all the professionals, including Mr. Moyo here, to join the club and give out to the club your time, your wisdom, your knowledge as you are doing. We really, really, truly appreciate that. We are grateful to you for having made time to come and give back to this nation. For those who are watching live on Facebook, there's a gentleman here by the name of Israel. Please leave your details at the bottom or visit our website page, www. Mr. Mkwame, can you mute, please? Sorry, can you mute? This is interrupting, please. Thank you, guys. So there's a gentleman called Israel. I'm sorry about that. Please, can you leave your details below, and then he'll take them and introduce you to the club. Failing which, just go to the website www.saljc.org.za and read more about the club. And then if you're interested, join the membership. Let's be part of the generation that will change this country, bring the change to this nation. We are not a generation of armchair leaders who are just sitting there. Mr. Moyo, this club has got a few programs that we are running. Some are national programs that you might be interested to know of. We've got a program that is current, that has just closed down, has just closed now. It's a national program for young men to write essays on an issue of toxic masculinity. This program is meant to get these boys engaged in this issue, because if you look at the gender-based violence that we see in our community, it's very unfortunate. At SALGC, we see the nation is going on about the symptoms. That it's going on about this scourge of abuse of women, but they're not going after what really causes it, because truly it's lack of leadership. So we find ourselves in a position where we are being led in a direction that will really, really not yield results. We see and we believe that gender-based violence is one of the symptoms of lack of leadership across. It's the same as a bullying that is happening in schools. It's lack of leadership. Hence, we said with the program of toxic masculinity, these boys will be able to learn that the behavior that is toxic, not only against women, but against themselves, against each other. Because men are killing other men. We are being killed by other men. We are being robbed by other men. These are symptoms of sick behavior in our societies and lack of leadership. So that program is meant to develop those young men at that stage, because we realize that bottom up kind of leadership development, it's the best donation that we can give to the future. If there's any donation that we can give to the future, is to develop young leaders who will come to the future and be the best guys to change the landscape of things. We've got another program called Reo Alua Rote, which is a community building wealth. You know, if you understand if you understand crowd funding kind of a model, but in a community, to develop the community, to ensure that the community perpetually benefit from the wealth that is created in their community. There's a few many other programs. There's boy-child mentoring programs. There's fathers of thought. There's ex-offender and addict support. There's a many programs that we are running that I'm not going to finish talking about here. And this club is 1 year old. It's developing very quick. We're growing. We need support all over the place, and we're grateful that every time we knock on a door, we get people like you readily available. Coach Charlie, who's an executive, who's a non-executive advisor of the board of SALGC, came and advised that he will put a word for the club for you to be able to come here. So in a nutshell, I want to say to him, we're very grateful for his effort and his input to the development of the South African community and Africa as a whole. Thank you very much. And I can go on and on about this club, but today, ladies and gentlemen, it's not about myself and it's not about what I feel. It's about the greatness that is on us, Mr. Moyo, who's going to be talking to us on a theme that is very important, the theme of change. The theme of change, where we say nothing changes until your mind has changed. So a few of you might want to know Mr. Moyo. Who's that Mr. Moyo? He's a dynamic speaker, author, leadership catalyst, and human transformation coach. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to understand that stuff that we bring you here at SALGC, it's stuff that is been paid for money. Lots of people are paying for this stuff. But we bring it here because we have spoken to our partners to come here and give support and give this. So appreciate this that we're giving to you, because some people are paying for this. And SALGC is bringing to you and high quality speakers to come and share their wisdom and their knowledge with us. Mr. Moyo, as I've said, he's a catalyst, leadership catalyst, a founder and CEO of Ignite My Potential, chairman of Negro Board of Directors and acting CEO, head Emerging Markets Development Allen Gray Limited, head advisor Distribution Allen Gray Limited, divisional director Sales Liberty Active, deputy general manager Discovery Health, provincial general manager Sanlam Life, marketing development Old Mutual. I can go on and on. I will never finish this. As he has said, the host himself earlier, that the bio is not important than what is going to be said next. So in that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm handing over to Mr. Moyo, who's going to be talking to us about the leadership change, the transformation, and what changes. It's nothing changes until your mindset has changed. Please take your pen and papers, get these notes, write down. He will share with us on the screen what he's talking about. And as customary, as you know, after he has spoken, we'll have a plenty opportunity to ask questions, to engage him, to do the comments. If you want to comment while he's speaking, drop your comments in the comment box down on Zoom or Facebook. We've got leaders around here who will pick up that and will read your comments. Mr. Moyo, in a nutshell, that is it about the club, and I hand over to you, sir. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for the introduction, and thank you for inviting me. I hope in the hour or so, what I'm going to share with you will add another brick in your own leadership development, and also help you shape other leaders, because ultimately one of the greatest, the overarching goal of leadership is developing other leaders. And so I'm actually quite excited about the programs that you run as a club. All right, so good afternoon, everyone. It's always weird to do these things online. I wish I was on stage, because then I'll be running up and down and you could pick up the energy. But we're gonna have fun, and hopefully, the stuff that I share with you will help you to truly grow. You've already heard, my name is Max Moyo of the Moyo clan of the Rosary Kingdom. We are the original custodians of what you now know as the Great Zimbabwe Ruins. And I've often said that if the Moyo clan were to come back together again, we would be the largest monarch in Southern Africa. And so you find the Moyos predominantly in Zimbabwe, you find the Lozis in Zambia, and you find the Barotse in Botswana. Now, these three groupings used to form what was then known as the Rosary Kingdom. And what you know as the Zimbabwe Ruins was actually a palace for our king. I am also the son of Ham, the son of Noah, the son of Methuselah, the son of Seth, the son of Adam and Eve. Whenever I get to this point, people don't know whether to say amen or not. But I introduce myself the way I do, firstly, because I'm African. And as you know, it is African tradition that you have not earned the right to speak to people until you have formally introduced yourself. But more importantly, I introduce myself the way I do because ultimately in life, who you are will determine what you do with your life. Who you are determines what you do and what you don't do. And if you don't know who you are then going to look for identity in two things, either a position and or possessions. The story of our lives. We get up every morning, we rush off to work or to school in search of two things, position and possession. Man, I'm going to challenge you today to perhaps look at the life from a completely different angle. And hopefully I'll be able to plant a couple of seeds that will make a difference. Let me see if I can share my screen now so that you can see some of the slides. I'm not much of a slide kind of guy. My preference would be just stand in front of people and just talk. But I find that some people find it much more exciting if they have. Oh, man, I can't get my screen to work now. Well, for some reason, I cannot get through. Oh, there we are. Good. Somebody just indicate that you can see the slide.
Yes, I can see it.
Can you see my? All right, fine. Okay, so I want to start this conversation around leadership. In fact, because I think because your main focus is leadership, any conversation that we have must start at that point. And I have my own definition of leadership that I want to share with you before we go to the issue of change. And but I want to start by saying one of the biggest challenges in life is the pursuit of success. The pursuit of success. And I often challenge people that we should not pursue success. Rather, we should seek to become people of value. In other words, don't pursue success because success will always be ahead of you. But rather do something that will cause success to follow you. In other words, become a person of value. And of course, when I share that with people, the first question people ask me is, how do you determine value? And so value then is determined by refined uniqueness. This is very important to get from at the onset. Your value as a person is determined not by which school you went to, not by which family you come from, what country you come from, what gender. Your value is always determined by refined uniqueness, your own refined uniqueness. In other words, you're refining your own uniqueness. This is very important to understand because then what it says that every single one of us can become people of value because all you need to do is to refine that uniqueness. And of course, when refined uniqueness then leads you to significance. Significance. Notice I didn't say popularity. I said significance. What is this thing of significance? Significance, it gives you presence. Or I think the French call it gravitas. I think the Zulus will say unestunzi. Amaxhosa will say unesidima. Significance. And whenever I try and describe significance, I can't resist mentioning Mandela. Those of you who met the late Nelson Mandela, when you were sitting in an auditorium where Mandela was coming to speak, when he would walk in from the back of the hall, without anybody announcing it, you would sense his presence. That's what we call significance. And some of us have these experiences. You either had a father or grandfather or a minister, somebody who was significant, that when they walked in, the atmosphere shifts. That's significance. And you know the good news? Every single one of us has the capacity to become significant. So don't pursue success. Seek to become a person of value. Value is determined by refining your own uniqueness. And refined uniqueness will lead you to significance. So the next question then becomes, so what, Max, what is this uniqueness that I must refine? Well, there are 8 billion people on planet Earth today. And there's not a single human being like you. So the first thing that makes you unique is your identity. You were born with a unique identity. In fact, your own government recognizes this uniqueness and they give you an ID document. And that for me is fascinating. From birth, you are born already differentiated. So you are born with a unique identity. Now, the moment I say identity, people think, okay, I'm Zulu, or I'm Shona, or I'm an American, or I'm a South African. That has nothing to do with your identity. Because if you tell me that, oh, typical male, I'm a man, the question I'd ask is, so what? I'm Shona, so what? I'm South African, so what? So what do I mean by identity? Identity has to do with what makes you unique. In other words, what is it that you bring to the table? That's where your identity is. What is it that you bring to the table? So let me give you an example. In your families, there's a family member who's a peacemaker. In other words, when family members are fighting, there is a member of the family who is, who we send to bring about peace. Now, if you got that family, that peacemaker in your family, if you got a visual of that person, the question is, did they go to UCT or Harvard for that matter to study peacemaking? And the answer is always no. Now, if they didn't go to school to study peacemaking, how is it that they're able to bring peace whenever there's conflict? And the answer is simple. They were born with a unique identity. And identity, the shortcut for identity is ID. We all talk about ID. So if you're writing notes, ID stands for irresistible difference. IRRISTIBLE. Irresistible difference. So the peacemaker in your family was born with a unique identity or irresistible difference of bringing about peace. In other words, wherever they go, where there is conflict, there will be peace. I want you to get this. Wherever they go, where there's conflict, they bring about peace. With that in mind, what is your unique, irresistible difference? Because you see, when I ask you, who are you? I don't want to know that you're a man, you are Xhosa, you are South African. No, that doesn't make any difference. When I ask you, who are you? I am saying, what difference do you bring to the table? In other words, identity has to do with what difference you bring to your family, what difference you bring to your community, what difference you bring to your workplace, what difference you bring to your country, what difference you bring to your continent, what difference you bring to the world. All of us, were born with that unique identity or irresistible difference. So first question today, as you ponder your leadership, is the first step to leadership is embracing your identity or embracing your unique, irresistible difference. Now, this is fascinating for me because you see the peacemaker in your family or in our families, the people that we know as peacemakers, more often than not, they're probably the least educated people in the family. And they're probably employed at, let's say, Shopra checkers. So that's the person sitting behind the till saying plastic. They hate their jobs, but they do them because it pays their bills. Because nobody ever told them that actually they could make a living out of peacemaking. I want you to understand this. Trapped in a job they hate. And they have this wonderful ability to bring about peace. In other words, Somalia has not had a government in over 25 years. Why? Because the people who were born to be peacemakers are busy at Shopra checkers punching the till. Or maybe the person who's supposed to bring that peace is washing your car. Maybe it's the gardener. Maybe it's your lecturer. The point is, because people are not aware of who they are, in other words, what they bring to the table, they end up going to school and get a degree, and they get a degree in the areas they are not interested in. Now they've got jobs that they hate. I mean, the average working person wakes up every morning to go, number one, to a job they hate. Number two, a boss they cannot stand. Number three, they are afraid of losing the job they hate. No wonder most of people are on high blood pressure medications. You hate your job, can't stand your boss, but you're afraid of losing the job you hate. So the number one step to leadership is embracing your identity or your irresistible difference. And for those of you who are parents, by the way, your number one job is to help your kids identify their irresistible difference and then send them to school to refine that uniqueness, not to do mathematics or science or whatever. Send them to school to refine their uniqueness. Because if they can refine that uniqueness, they will never, ever need a job. J-O-B, just over, just, what they call it? Just over broke. My view is that human beings were never meant to have jobs. Human beings were meant to have work. Work is simply you walking into yourself. Hence, the title of my second book is actually Become Yourself. That's when it starts. Who am I? In other words, what do I bring to the table? In fact, it's fascinating because in the African culture, in the olden days, we named our children according to their characteristics, isn't it? Now we just call you Mark, we call you Max, But in the olden days, the names actually represented what we were about. Okay, so the first step, remember, I'm saying all this to try and give you the first step to leadership, which is identity, which is the first thing that makes you unique. The second thing that makes you 1 in 8 billion are your talents. There are no two people in the world with the same talents in the same proportion. Now, this is fascinating for me because in my travels around the world, as I speak to people, most adults don't know where their talents lie. Because for most people, talents is like playing soccer or singing or, the things that we already know. We don't realize that there are other talents. So the question is, what is your talent? What is your talent? Let me show you the power of talent. And I'm going to use, I use my favorite musicians, Dolly Parton and Whitney Houston. Now, many years ago, Dolly Parton wrote a song, I Will Always Love You. She made millions out of that song. In the early 1990s, the late Whitney Houston did a remake of the same song, and she made millions out of it. Now, this is fascinating for me. What it tells me, the first thing that this tells me is, number one, competition is unnatural. Because Dolly Parton and Whitney Houston were not competing. Why? because their rendition of the same song is totally different. In fact, by Dolly Parton singing like Dolly Parton does and Whitney singing like Whitney does, the music industry actually benefited. We, the people, benefited from it. Same piece of music. Now, this is very important. When you begin to operate in your talents, you don't need to compete with anyone because nobody can beat you at being you.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
So harness, embrace your unique, irresistible difference. Harness your unique talents and gifts. In other words, now this is where the answer to the issue of schooling is. We are sending our kids to school and we're telling them to succeed, you must do maths and science. In fact, most people will tell you intelligence is mathematics and science. And I keep saying, no, that's a lie. There are people who are gifted in mathematics and science. There are people who are gifted in music. There are people who are gifted in art. Every single person is world-class at something and they suck at something. So there's no such a thing as this one, no, this one is dumb. No, we are all intelligent at something and we are all dumb at something. This is very important to recognize. So every single one of us. So when you watch, let's say your favorite soccer player, Lionel Messi, making a mess of the people in that field, you don't become envious of him. You celebrate his brilliance. And it encourages you to also look inward and focus on your own brilliance. What are your talents? What are your talents? And if you are battling in that field, there's a book that I think I want to suggest by Marcus Buckingham. And it's called Now Discover Your Strengths. You can find it from Amazon. Now Discover Your Strengths by Marcus Buckingham. There's a lot of information around the whole issue of talents and gifts. So go and grab yourself a copy, and I promise you it will help you. So number one, you are born with a unique identity. Number two, you are born with a unique set of talents. The third thing that makes you different from everybody else is your purpose. Purpose speaks to reason for existence. AmaXhosa athi udalelwe ntoni? What were you created to do? What were you created to do? Because until you answer that question, your life will not make sense. In fact, the pain of our lives only makes sense when we understand our purpose. And you'll see when I go to pain, that pain shapes us for what we need. So three things. I call these three the tripartite alliance of success: identity, talents, and purpose. Notice something that's interesting. We are all born with a unique identity. We're all born with a unique set of talents, gifts, and we're all born for a unique purpose. Notice something. If you are born poor, you have a unique identity, you have a unique set of talents and gifts, and a unique purpose. If you couldn't go to school because your parents can't afford, you still have your unique identity, you still have your talents and gifts, and you still have a purpose. In other words, once you understand these things and you walk in them, success is guaranteed. That's what 1 in 8 billion, a unique phenomenon, never ever to be repeated again. There has never been a human being like you before you. There is no human being today, 8 billion people like you. And when you die, there will never ever be another human being like you again. So you, my friend, are it. In my time, MC Hammer would have said, can't touch this. How many of you woke up this morning, looked in the mirror and thought, can't touch this? Isn't it fascinating that in spite of our uniqueness, in spite of our rareness, most of us will spend our lives trying to be somebody else? And that's why this message is so important. Because the moment you try to be somebody else, you've already failed because you don't have what they have. How do you become number one in the world? You become number one in the world by walking into yourself. Your greatness is not outside of you. Your greatness is inside of you. It's fascinating, as all of you are parents. Have you noticed that your children knew that they were the best thing since bread? Think about your kids as a young kid. Music starts playing, they start dancing. They don't just dance. They want the whole world to know. Look at me, daddy. Look at me, daddy. And then what happens? We look at them and then we tell them, no, sweetheart, you can't dance. 30 years later, they're adults. Music plays. We say, get up and dance. They say, no, I can't dance. Who told you that? The parents and the community. But what is dancing, if we think about it? Dancing is you, not me, you moving to music, whichever way you want to move. So instead of enjoying that and being ourselves, somebody else says you can't dance, but what they're really saying is you can't dance like me, or you can't dance like Michael Jackson. And that's fine, because I'm not Michael Jackson. I won't dance like him. I'm not dancing for him, I'm dancing for me. So 3 things that form the foundation of every life, but it also forms the foundation of your leadership is embracing your unique identity, harnessing, developing, and deploying your unique talents and gifts in pursuit of a life of purpose. Let me ask you the question. What is your irresistible difference? What are your talents and gifts? What is your purpose? When you've gotten the answer to that, what is my purpose? Then it leads you to step number 3 in your leadership journey. So the first step is embrace your identity or irresistible difference. The second step is to harness, develop, and deploy your talents and gifts. The third step is in pursuit of a life of purpose. Number 4, purpose then is what generates your conviction about life. Leaders are men and women of conviction. Let me show you conviction. Nelson Mandela, he's facing a possible death sentence. He faces the judge and he says, Your Honor, it is an ideal that I hope to live for. And then my favorite statement of all, but if necessary, to die for. Let me ask you, my fellow leaders, what are you prepared to live for? And if necessary, to die for? Until you find that, until you are prepared to die, you're not ready to live. And of course, one of my favorite, old-time leaders, the late Winston Churchill, he says, one man with conviction will overwhelm 100 who only have opinions. And I can give you an example of conviction. The lion is known as the king of the jungle, but he's not the biggest, he's not the fastest, he's not the smartest. But a lion operates from a position of conviction. So imagine this. Lion is hungry. He sees this massive lion, massive elephant. The elephant sees the lion, elephant starts running. Why? Because when an elephant sees a lion, he sees someone who will eat them up. The lion, when he sees the big elephant, he sees his lunch. Conviction. Nelson Mandela looked at the entire apartheid regime and he decided, I'm going to eat you for lunch. Granted, it took him 27 years, but that's the power of conviction. So let me ask you, fathers, what is your conviction? Can your children identify your conviction? Do you live a life of conviction?
Beautiful. Is it me? Leadership, are you still there? My leader? I can't hear anything from my side. I am not sure what is happening. I can't get my leader on the line. Let me try and phone him again. Maybe this time I will get him. I know earlier he mentioned.
Yeah, just as I'm talking to myself.
Yeah, we can't hear you now.
Yeah, no, it's actually has gone off. Do you know what's the last thing you heard?
Yeah, we're talking Winston Churchill. We're on the conviction of Mandela.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna dial in again. Let me redial in.
All right, sure. Max is dialing back, leaders. He'll be in just now. He's dialing.
I just admitted him, so he'll definitely be with us.
Yeah.
Sorry, everyone. I didn't realize I was off. Now I'm gonna have to remember. Do you remember where I ended? Which part do you remember hearing? When I was with Churchill?
Winston Churchill, Mandela.
Okay. All
What
right,
is that? What is that that we're willing to die for? That's the question you asked.
Okay.
Conviction.
Okay, can you give me control so I can share screen again?
All right, yeah, control.
Or co-host, I think.
Yeah. It's done.
All right, sorry guys. Yeah, so yes, if you lose me, please just let me know on my cell phone and I'll get back. Maybe you should say amen more often.
Yeah, so that we
Amen, amen.
Can you see my guys? Can you guys see my screen?
We can see perfectly.
Okay, perfect.
Yes.
All right, so we're talking about conviction. And what was Nelson Mandela convicted about? A non-sexist, non-racist South Africa. So the question I have for you is, what is your conviction for life? Mine is very simple. A world of 8 billion people who embrace their unique identity or irresistible difference, harness, develop and deploy their unique talents in pursuit of a life of purpose. When that has happened, I can die in peace. That becomes what I live for. What is your conviction? Because if you ever think about any leader in your life that you have much respect for, the number one thing you're going to find is that they are men or women of conviction. And so as we develop ourselves as leaders, we need to figure out what our conviction is. Right. Step number 5 in this process. So your conviction is what generates your vision for life. Notice this is your vision, not somebody else, your vision for life. Your conviction generates your vision for life. I have a vision of a world of 8 billion people who embrace their unique identity, harness their talents and gifts in pursuit of a life of purpose. That's my vision. Nelson Mandela had a vision of a non-sexist, non-racist South Africa. What is your vision? Leaders are men and women of vision. What is your vision? Your vision then is what generates step number 6. Is it 6? Yeah. Your passion. Passion. Because leaders are men and women who are passionate about what they do. And you can see this, I mean, when you meet people that give you all sorts of services, you can tell the person who's doing it for the money, and you can tell the person who's doing it because that they're offering a service, they're convicted this is what they're meant to do. When you are pursuing your vision, you're always going to be passionate about what you do. Why is passion so important? Because your passion then leads you to step number 7, which is inspiration. It is your passion, Mr. Leader and Mrs. Leader. It is your passion that then inspires others. Your passion inspires others. So if you tell me you're a leader, I ask you, how do you inspire others? Inspiration leads you to step number 8, which is influence. Influence. You are not a leader until you are influential. And those of you who hold positions of authority, you know that. The fact that you have a position of authority doesn't mean people will follow you. Even presidents realize that. They can order people to do stuff, but it doesn't happen. So authority alone is not enough for you to move people. In fact, you have a better chance of moving people without authority, but with influence. That's why when they want certain things to happen, they will, co-opt people of influence so they can come and say, yes, put your mask or go get injected or whatever it is. They use people of influence because people of influence can get people to do stuff. And this is where the power of leadership is. Leadership has nothing to do with position. And for the ladies that are in the house, ladies, you are born leaders already. You have everything that it takes to lead.
Yes.
What you need is to believe it and to assume the leadership role. The same way you assume leadership in your home. So your man believes he's running the home, but you are running the home. But you do it in such a way that he never feels like he's not running the home. That skill is the same skill that's needed in our corporates. It's the same skills that needed in government departments, same skills that needed in politics. That skill. I mean, as men, we can learn a lot from our women. Influence. Now let me show you the power of influence. You don't work for me. I have not determined, I can't determine your promotion or your increase. Yet I'm willing to bet that after this lecture, for the next 6 months, you will be thinking about the stuff that I'm sharing with you now. And some of you will be already, you are writing stuff down, you're going to implement that. I've just earned the right to lead you. Leadership. So here's my definition of leadership. And you're going to see it follows those 9 steps. So leadership is the capacity to, number 1, influence others. Through, number 2, inspiration. Motivated by, number 3, a passion. Generated by, number 4, a vision. Produced by, number 5, a conviction. Ignited by, number 6, a purpose. Fulfilled by, number 7, your unique talents and gifts. Manifested through, the final one, your unique, irresistible difference. 2021 can be the year that you do the most amazing work. But you got to look through this leadership thing and say, where am I lacking? You cannot have influence if you're not inspirational. You cannot be inspirational if you're not passionate. You cannot have a vision if you're not a man or woman of conviction. And you will not have a conviction if you don't have a purpose. And of course, to fulfill that, you need your unique talents and your unique irresistible difference. All right, now that we've given you my definition of leadership, I think now you are ready, because now knowing something in your mind and internalizing it so it becomes a part of you, that's a difficult task. And that's the challenge that most of us face. I'm willing to bet that most of the stuff that I'm sharing with you now, most of you already know it. It's not new. Most of us know this. So why aren't we doing it? And this is where change comes into the picture. I'm changing my slides, don't worry guys. I'm just changing my slides pack to the next slide pack, and we will be in business just now. You can still hear me, right?
Yes, yes.
All right, let's start with,
Amen.
Right. I think it was wisdom on your part as a leadership to actually ask that we do this conversation, because this is an ideal moment, because we are all going to the holidays, and it's an opportunity to reflect on the year that has gone by, 2020, and to set new plans for 2021. And I think this information helps you to start there. Always, everything must always start. Who am I? Why am I here? What are my talents and gifts? What can I deploy to make a difference? Now listen to this. Jack Welch, he's late now, said this: when the rate of change outside exceeds the rate of change inside, the end is in sight. In other words, when the rate of change in the world around you exceeds the rate of change inside you, you are about to become extinct. Like the Nokia, was it a 5110 or 6110? What was that thing?
Those ones.
Yeah, completely. Nokia at one time was leading this thing. Now they're nowhere to be found. Why? Because the rate of change in that industry was faster than the rate of change inside the organization. We all know the men and women who are sitting now either Elokshini or in the village. You know those guys, right? When most of you are going to go to your village now to go and visit, and there's that guy who will tell you this. You know, he's sitting under a tree waiting for you to buy him beer or whatever. Then he can tell you stories about how he used to run this mine or run that place or that place. You know, I studied the Queen's language and all that stuff they tell you. They used to be great. And then what happened? The rate of the change outside was so fast, they couldn't cope. Now they're sitting at home, telling stories of what they used to be, waiting to die. That can easily be the story of your life if you fail to change. Let me give you an example. When I was growing up, typing, so the youngsters who are listening now will not understand, there used to be something called a typewriter. I still remember the typing class, ASDF space semicolon LKJ, ASB, anyway, the ribbon, all that thing. There was a career called typist. Now, if you are a qualified typist now, there's no job for you because the world has changed so much. So with that in mind, I want to share this, that there are two powers in the world in life that we can never change or control: time and change. Time and change. Whether you like it or not, this day is going to end. This hour is going to end. This week is going to end. This month is going to end. This year is going to end. Everything is moving and changing. You cannot control it. So your life, my fellow leaders, consists of how well you have managed time and change. I'm excited by myself now. How well you've managed time and change. If I were to ask in this room now, how many of us actually have a written down life plan? I'm willing to bet that if there's one or two, then we are lucky. Most of us have a plan in our heads, but not a plan written down. And the sad news is that if the plan is in your head, it's as good as the plan doesn't exist. So I'm hoping that during this time off, you're going to sit down and actually take time to write your plan for your life. Why is that so important? I've discovered something that's very interesting. Without a plan, time and change will ruin you. I'm going to repeat that. Without a plan, time and change will ruin you. So let me give you an example. If you're currently employed, do you have a plan of what you will do if they fire you tomorrow? Or if you get fired tomorrow, you are ruined. This is very important because you never know. You could wake up and your role is no longer necessary. And those that employ you will say, thank you very much for the time you've given us. And then you have no plan and you are ruined. That's what happens to that person that you see on a weekend when you go Elokshini or you go to the village. Time and change happened to them and they didn't have a plan. Now they sit in the village and wait for you who work to come and buy them alcohol while they tell stories. You can't control time. You can't stop it. You can't stop change. All you can do is manage it. And so with that, I'm going to share with you my growth equation. My growth equation. Number one, growth is equals to change.
Can you share the screen, my leader?
You can't see it.
No, no, no.
It says I'm sharing here. Let's try and get it again. Okay. Sorry, man, technology keeps, every now and again, I think it kicks me out for some reason.
Yeah, network maybe also. Yes,
We are
we see.
back. Okay, we're back now. Now you should be able to see it. Can you see it?
Yes. Growth, change.
Cool. All right, so yeah, so this is my what I call it a pain equation. I also call it a change equation, but more importantly, I call it a growth equation because that's very positive. So number one, growth is equals to change. So every time you grow, you change. Now you're going to see how this fits in terms of leadership. Growth is equals to change. So as you now reflect on the year that has gone by and you begin to plan for 2021, you got to ask the question now, if you are going to grow in 2021, the question is, what do I need to change in order to remain relevant in 2021? I'm going to repeat that so that those of you are writing. What do I need to change to remain relevant in 2021? There are three areas that you're going to look at. And you're going to have to write this down because I don't have it on a slide. Number one, in terms of how you use time. Number two, your relationships. Number three, your thinking. These are the three things that will change everything for you. If you want to change your life, the way you use your time in 2020 will not be the same as the way you will use your time in 2021. Because if you repeat the same things, you'll get the same result. So let me give you an example. If you decide that you're going to do your MBA in 2021, you're going to have to change the way you use your time. You can no longer watch your soapy or your soccer because now you can't go to parties or, because now you have to focus. So it's a change of time. If you decide to start a business, it affects how you use your time. If you decide to become a better father, if you want to become a better mother, it affects the way you use your time, right? The second thing, of course, is your relationships. Let me get this. I love this part. If you want to make 5 million rands in 2021, it means that you must disconnect in terms of relationships. You must disconnect from people who don't want to make 5 million rands in 2021. And connect to people who want to make 5 million rands in 2021. And connect to people who are already making 5 million rands. Do you get the picture now?
Yep.
So if you want to grow and change in 2021, your relationships have to change. Because if you're trying to make 5 million rands and you're hanging around a person who's quite happy to make 300,000 rands, they're going to disturb your ability to achieve what you need to achieve. So what do I need to change to remain relevant? And you can ask that question in terms of your workplace. What do I need to change to remain relevant in my chosen career? And you can look at three things: time, relationships, and thinking. The thinking that got you through 2020 will not get you through 2021. The thinking that earned you 1 million rand in 2020 will not earn you 5 million rands in 2021. Do you get the picture? So you got to change your thinking. Why? Because as a man thinketh, so is he also in his own heart. You can never rise above that which you think of yourself. Change your thinking. So, and I know there's a lot of ones. So that's the first step of the growth equation. Forget that. I've just taken you through 9 steps of leadership. When you look at those and you look at where you are lacking, what do you need to change? The second part of my equation then says, okay, before I get there, let me just share this. Change is hard because people overestimate the value of what they have and underestimate the value of what they may gain by giving that up. This is so critical, and you're going to have to check yourself out. We overestimate what we have, and we underestimate what we can get. And this is very common. So often when I speak to groups of women, I often bring this example because we've heard, we've heard women saying this, better the devil I know than the angel I don't know. That's just a suicide statement right there.
Absolutely.
You'd rather stay with an abusive human being because you know the human being than change and potentially get the best human being into your life. Some of you are stuck in jobs you hate. But hey, man, at least I've got bread on the table. If I go somewhere else, I don't know how they will treat me. So you spend the rest of your life being abused by an organization or a system that doesn't appreciate what you have because you overestimate the value of what you have and underestimate the value of what you can gain. So when you do your reflections, once again, look at these things. All right, the second part of my equation then says, so we said growth is equals to change, right? Now we're saying change is equals to loss. So every time you change, you lose something. Every time you change, you lose something. You cannot change and not lose. Now, you've heard people saying people resist change, and no, people don't resist change. People are trying to avoid loss or the perceived loss. So if you're in an organization and you're trying to put change through your team and whatever, you got to remember these things. Or in a family, you're trying to get your kids to change and do things differently. You're going to have to address the idea of the perceived loss. In other words, one of the roles of a leader really is to convince people that what they're going to gain is much more than what they're going to lose. In other words, you have to convince your people that the promised land is really flowing with milk and honey, and it's better than the fish and the meat of Egypt. So once again, as you reflect on 2020 and begin to plan for 2021, you need to ask this question. What do I need to lose in order to remain relevant in my work? What do I need to lose in order to remain relevant in my business? What do I need to lose? Do you get the picture now? The reason why we struggle with our goals a lot of times is that we don't ask that question. It's easy to set a goal until you discover, hey, I got to lose this. And most people give up at that point. So here's the question. What am I, or rephrase, what am I prepared to lose in order to achieve my goals? Once again, the same 3 areas in terms of use of time. 2, relationships. 3, my thinking. Because if that doesn't happen, you're not changing anything. What do you need to lose to remain relevant? The reason why most people today are not making progress is they're holding on to things that are about to become obsolete. IBM could not change. They could not see what Bill Gates was bringing in terms of Windows. And so they refused. And today, Microsoft is probably worth much more than IBM. And every IBM computer uses Microsoft. What do I need to change to remain relevant? What do I need to lose, rather, in order to remain relevant? The third part of the equation then, before I get there, unless you are prepared to give up something valuable, you will never be able to truly change at all. Why? Because you will be forever in the control of the things you cannot give up. Let me ask a question. What are the things that are controlling you, the things that you refuse to give up? In fact, for those of you who are struggling to move forward in terms of your goals and objectives, Just look at that. What am I holding on to that I'm supposed to let go so that I can move forward? The third part of the equation then says, so we said growth is equals to change. Change is equals to loss. But it doesn't end there. Loss is equals to pain. This is where it gets exciting. So people are not even trying to resist loss and change. No. What they're trying to avoid is pain. And that for me is where today's shift needs to happen in your life, in your spirit. Every goal you make, it's going to take pain to achieve it. And so as you reflect and you set your goals for 2021, you got to ask the question, what pain am I prepared to go through in order to achieve my objectives? And for those of you who are really seriously walking into leadership, this question is very important, because if you're not prepared to go through this pain, stay away from leadership. Because leadership and pain are synonymous. Once again, you ask the same question as you reflect and you make your plans for next year. What pain do I need to take in order to remain relevant? In terms of what? The pain of time, the pain of breaking down or breaking relationships that you've had. You've matched with this guy for years. You've known each other since school days, but this person is not adding value to your life. You got to let it go so you can make space for people that are going to add value in your life. That's going to be painful. Or the pain for those of you who are leading people and institutions, the pain of having to let go of someone who used to be useful, who has now become obsolete, and they're just taking space in your team. Pain. Loss is equals to pain. So what pain? So if you look at the question that I'm asking in this equation, the first question is, what do I need to change in order to remain relevant? And we look in terms of use of time, your relationships, and your thinking. Step 2 says, okay, if change then is equals to loss, what do I need to lose in order to remain relevant? The next step then says, well, if loss is equals to pain, how much pain am I prepared to go through in order to achieve my objectives? Most of us fail on our goals because when we see the pain, we run away from pain. And this is it's a serious problem in us today. And it's based on the way we are brought up. Think about how they bring us up. Go to school, get a degree, get a good job, work hard, and you will never have pain in your life. It's a lie. And most of us have been running away from pain ever since. But I want you to think about this. Growth is equals to change. Change is equals to loss. Loss is equals to pain. Therefore, growth is equals to pain. So my friends, if you make your life about avoiding pain, you effectively make your life about avoiding growth. And if you're not growing, you will become obsolete, irrelevant, unnecessary.
Forgotten.
Like some people, you know, this company, I gave them 30 years of my life. My friend, when you become irrelevant, why should we pay attention to you? Let me give you an example. This is very important. Relevance, value is so important. If you're going to, remember we said leadership is influence. If you're going to influence the world, you have to remain relevant. Let me give you an example that I always love to use, and it's one of my books. When you go to a mango tree, what are you looking for? You're looking for mangoes. When you don't find mangoes in the tree, do you sit under the tree admiring the branches and the leaves? No, you don't. You turn away and you totally ignore that mango tree as if it doesn't exist. The only time you'll get back to that mango tree is when it has got mangoes. The story of your life. You know, people don't appreciate what I bring to the table. No, you don't bring anything to the table. When you increase your value, people will find you. Let's use the same example. The mango tree, the peach tree, the pawpaw tree, they have never once engaged an advertising agency to advertise for their fruits. They just produce the fruit. When you're fruitful, the market will find you. But to be fruitful, you must go through the pain. You know that gentleman. If you know that guy, you're probably as old as I am. I grew up on Kung Fu movies. Don't run from your pain. Don't deny it exists. It is the most effective leadership development tool the world has ever known. You will only grow to the threshold of your pain. Now I'm going to go deep with this thing. You want to be a billionaire, you need to raise your pain threshold. You want to be CEO of a company, you must raise your pain threshold. In other words, every stage you want to go to requires new pain. So your ability to embrace pain as a part of your life will determine how high you go. The higher your pain threshold, the higher you will go in life. We all celebrate Mandela. Every leader in the world celebrates Mandela. Why? It cost him 27 years of his life. How much pain are you willing to go through to achieve what you want to achieve in life? To impact the world, to be impactful. Let me go to a biblical example. Every single person you find in the Bible that God has used, the first step, he calls you, then he shoves you into pain. Why? Because every growth we've ever experienced from the day we were formed in our mother's wombs has been painful. Pain has been your greatest friend from the time you were born. You learned how to walk by standing up and falling. You learned how to run by trying to run and falling, knocking everything, knocking your head, until now, when you get up, you just walk as if it's nothing. Everything that you know today, what you are known for, the things that you do at work, there was a time you didn't know that. You learned through pain. Your degree, you got it through pain. And yet, in spite of all that evidence, we are on average trying to avoid pain. Let me give you a couple of things about leadership. Leadership is bleedership. If you're not bleeding, you're not leading. Leadership is also what I call brutiful. It is both brutal and beautiful. You don't believe me? Just watch Cyril Ramaphosa. 2021 has been a painful year. If you're leading a company and there's a coronavirus and you can't meet your sales targets, man, you are going through pain. Leadership is not easy. We can follow Moses. I love this part because the typical example of leadership is God and Moses. At one time, God is also complaining, your people. And Moses said, I didn't create them. It's rough. I'm saying this because a lot of us like the title of leadership, but we don't want to take the pain that comes with it. May I then suggest that the first step to leadership is a declaration of independence. Your first step towards independence, leave your place of birth. Leave your culture. Leave your people. Leave your father's house. Leave your land and go to a place where you can lead. I believe this is the greatest call, leadership call that has ever been made, is leave your land, your place of birth, your father's house, and go to a land I'll show you. Why is that important? Why is leaving so important? Leaving is so important because by our very nature as human beings, we conform. So if you stay, you will conform to your culture. By the way, your culture is not your culture, it's your parents' culture. You need to leave and go and form your own culture. Another powerful statement. You can never lead the people you need. Are you still there? Or am I talking to myself?
We're here.
Okay.
We're here. Hallelujah.
You can never lead the people you need. So if you're going to lead, you have to declare independence. You've got to be bigger than the organizations that you work for. So if most of you will agree with me, Mandela was always bigger than the ANC. And because of that, he could push some controversial things because he was bigger than the institution. Those who are not bigger than the institution can never push. You can never become truly a leader because you see the people that put you in there control what you do. And if you're under control, you are not a leader. Ooh, this is deep stuff, man. You can never lead the people you need. Declare independence, walk away. And then you have the freedom to become everything that you are meant to be. Leadership will change you because as a leader, you have to be different. Not for the sake of being different, but for the sake of starting something new. To be a leader is to be willing to challenge the prevailing consensus. My friends, leadership is deep stuff. And most of us in life are just parrot what somebody else has been saying. We're not convicted. We've been given a role, so we claim to be leaders. But the people that change the direction of the world, those ones, they're misfits. They walk away from the crowd. They are misunderstood, and they are quite happy to be misunderstood because they know in time, as they begin to achieve stuff, people will understand them as leaders. I'm hoping you're getting some value out of this.
Yeah.
The ultimate objective in life is to be a contributor. And if you look at this, your identity, your talents, and a purpose is what leads you to be a contributor, in order to be fruitful. And whenever you contribute to something, you're always going to get a reward. It's a lot of stuff that I've shared with you. That needs thinking. It needs to just sit and really, really digest. So I'm going to take a step back and just walk you through what I shared with you this afternoon. We said that you must not pursue success because success will always be ahead of you, but rather you must do something that will cause success to follow you. And we said that you must seek to become a person of value. You see, when you're a person of value, you will never be relevant because you're constantly improving on your capacity to be valuable. That's why, we had a Nokia, we had an iPhone 11. Now we got an iPhone 12. Why? They're improving the value so that iPhone does not become irrelevant. That's why we are always looking for an upgrade. But when was the last time you upgraded yourself? When your team at work, when you call a team meeting, do they get excited because you're going to come with fresh ideas, or are you just going to repeat yourself and I've got to go to listen to that guy again? When was the last time you upgraded yourself? Remember this, you will be the same 5 years from today, except for two things: the books you read and the people you meet. I'll repeat that. You will be the same 5 years from today, except for two things: the people you meet and the books you read. I try and read a book a month. I've actually slowed down because I used to read a book a week. In fact, this last week, I probably bought about 10 books. So I've got enough reading now to catch up. If you're going to be a leader, you're going to have to be a reader because leaders are readers. And while we're talking about reading, by the way, I have written 4 books. So some of the stuff that I'm sharing with you, particularly around identity, talents, and purpose, is in my book. So the first book is You Are the Eighth Wonder of the World. The second book is Become Yourself. The third book is Who Moved My Ladder, Not My Cheese. And the fourth book is The Leadership Call. I will send the list to the organizer. So you guys, if you want them, you can just contact me and we can arrange that you get copies. They're not that expensive, only $200.
Sure.
All right. So embrace your unique identity or irresistible difference. Harness, develop, and deploy your unique talents and gifts. In pursuit of a life of purpose, that forms the foundation of your life, the foundation of your leadership. In fact, every single problem that we face as human beings sits on those three things. If you know the African three-legged pot, I believe that the three legs of every human being is identity, talents, and purpose. Every challenge you have, we can actually find the root cause. Either it's an identity problem, it's a talent problem, or it's a purpose problem. Take some time to really look at these things because you're born wired for your purpose. You know, I love this part. Did you know that where you were born, the family you were born in, the environment you grew up in, whatever your background, was never set up to be a disadvantage to you? Everything about your background was shaping you for your purpose. I have discovered that your background is the necessary pressure cooker to prepare you for your purpose. I'm gonna repeat that. Your background is the necessary pressure cooker to prepare you for your purpose. And so it is important to understand purpose, because only when you walk into purpose does your background now make sense. Everything about my background made sense the day I walked into my purpose. I understood why I had to grow up the way I did. I understood why I had to go through the pain that I went through. I understood why I had to be born in a particular family. Purpose is the key. When you understand that, you could take any pain. I want to stop here so that I can give people an opportunity to ask questions. This is not the last of my presentations. I'm sure we'll do some more. After you've thought a little bit about all the stuff that I've shared, you might want us to go deeper on certain aspects, but that we can do in the next round. So I want to just stop there and give people a chance to ask questions. But maybe let me finish the summary first. So embrace your unique identity, harness your talents and gifts in pursuit of a life of purpose. Purpose then generates your conviction about life. Your conviction is what generates your vision of life. Your vision for life is what generates your passion, the passion with which you live your life. And the passion with which you live your life is what inspires others. And that inspiration leads you to having influence. And only when you have influence can you be a leader. Having said that, to get to that point is going to take pain, because any change comes through pain. And so we shared with you the equation, growth is equals to change. And we said, ask the question, what do I need to change to remain relevant or to be the leader that I was born to be? And we said, you look at three things in terms of the use of time, in terms of your relationships, and in terms of your thinking. Then we said, change is equals to loss. And then the question becomes, what do I need to lose in order to remain relevant? And we looked at use of time, relationships, and thinking. Then we say loss is equals to pain. Then the question becomes, what pain do I need to go through in order to remain relevant? And you look again in terms of use of time, relationships, and thinking. And then we say the ultimate in terms of leadership is a declaration of independence, because you can never lead the people you need. Because if you need them, you can't then lead them to where you want them to go. If they say no, and you say, I'm going anywhere, they'll say, we are firing you. When you don't need them, you're saying, we're going to go this way. That's a very important thing to understand. You can't lead the people you need. So you need to declare independence. And then, of course, we said that it is brutal. Leading is difficult stuff. It's painful stuff. The choices we have to make are tough. The choices we have to make is like, what's his name? Jonas, who refused 600 million rands. I mean, just imagine for a moment somebody brings a suitcase full of money. It's going to challenge. It's going to challenge you. Or your principal, the one who employs you, says, if you don't do this, your replacement will. And you got kids in private school. That's going to challenge you. You are convicted about where you should be going. If you're a pastor and your church members don't want to go that side, it's going to challenge you. Or you are married and you want to go north and the wife doesn't want, it's going to challenge you. You want to lead? How much pain are you prepared to go through in order to achieve your objectives? I want to stop there so I can give people a chance to actually comment and ask questions. Thank you very much.
Great stuff. Thank you, my leader. What a mouthful. What a mouthful. Great conversation. I'm sure a lot of people here have taken as much as I have. It keeps ringing in my head that leadership is not pressure, is not power, is not beauty, is not money, it's influence. You need to have influence to be able to lead people. Yeah, it's very powerful. I'm sure a lot of people here have already taken a lot from this presentation themselves. I'm very passionate about the leadership conversations, and I'm glad that you've really made time to come to talk to us about this. Every word you have said, love it. I've taken notes. Thank you so much, my leader. Mr. Schale, can you look around? Come on screen. Can you look around and pick up some questions? Help me pick up some questions there.
I'll do so, leadership. Let me see if I can find any.
Yeah.
Um,
If there's any hand, any question?
so far, I'm not seeing any question from my side.
Yeah, let me, okay, you'll help me keep looking. Mr. Moyo, there's always this thing about leadership that I think that the closest and easiest example now that a lot of people will relate to is what has recently happened with the Chief Justice. The Chief Justice stood out there and stood for what he believed in without fear of reprimand from everyone. And I think it talks to the pain that you're referring to in your last slides, that you have to have this pain that you go through for you to grow. And if I don't know if I'm correct to say that that's a typical leadership example of the Chief Justice, that irrespective of anything, those who follow me will follow me. I'm not going to go out there and ask people to follow me. I've got this conviction and I believe so much in this, so much that I am willing to lose my life for it. Am I right that the Chief Justice stood out there and it's a typical example of what you're talking about? Or what is your take on that?
You're on point. I mean, that's what he stands. This is what he believes, and he's quite happy to do so, irrespective of how people are going to see it, or if they say he's not suitable. And he's effectively made up his mind that it's okay. I'll take whatever comes my way. That's conviction, man. When I listened to him, I thought, yep, because I'm sure there is pain. No, that's a fact. Yeah, because to do that, I mean, to stand for your conviction is going to cost you. And history is full of people that have lost their lives for what they believe. So when I talk about this, I'm not just putting it as yeah, you must be convicted. No, you actually have to understand that some of the conviction could lead to, and let's just give an example. You know, the whole tender stuff. I mean, I know people that have had to quit municipalities and whatever because they didn't want to sign certain documents that would have made them, you know, would have gotten them into trouble. So they'd rather quit because the pressure there. And if you don't sign it, they tell you that they know where your kids live and stuff like that. That's rough.
Yeah, it's pain.
And I always say to people, if you're not prepared to take that pain, don't take the role. You can't want the money and not want the pain.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that we do, I mean, you know, the reason why leaders get paid so much more, the reason why leaders get paid so much more is because they have to take more pain.
Embrace pain, and then you grow. Where there's pain, there's growth. Yeah.
Yes.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, leadership.
I see in the chat box people are saying that they can't raise their hands. I don't know if there's some technical issue there with regard to that. I see some participants saying they are not able to raise hands.
Yeah, I'm not sure why they can't raise their hands. Unfortunately, Mr. Mtama is also not here to help us with this stuff. I'm not sure. But if there's any question, can somebody just talk and then I'll give them a platform? The people who can raise their hands, who's that?
Thank you.
Can
Thank you.
I
Thank
say
you.
something?
I see May Awesome's hand.
Yeah, yes,
Okay,
ma'am. Well,
ladies
Okay.
first.
Hi, hello. Okay. Hi, guys. How are you?
yes,
Well,
ma'am.
thank you.
Can you all hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
loud and clear.
Okay. I'm trying to gather some strength. I'm sorry I can't speak up as loud as I usually do. Thank you so much for a powerful presentation, Mr. Max Moyo. I think I took a lot of lessons from what you said, but I think in the context of what's happening in our country and the rest of the continent and the world right now, my thought was the fact that trust is such an important leadership value that is missing around the world, and it's something that's taken very lightly, but it's something that's very crucial. That's the very core of leadership, because a leadership is a contract, whether in the workplace, whether in home, whether in an organization, whether in a company, whether in government, in any state, contract between the leader and the people that he leads. I think next time, perhaps when you do come back, I would probably like you to actually unpack that. But I'm learning that it's something that needs to be harnessed, and something that's missing, and that is why you find that the world is not in balance, or there's this major uproar, whether it's politically or wherever. So I really like what Chief Justice Mogoeng said, because it echoed the fact that he will not compromise his value as a Christian man and his value as a Chief Justice, because at the end of the day, this issue of the vaccine is also got to do with protection of us as our fundamental human rights as South Africans, and therefore obviously it should apply elsewhere in the world, in terms of this topic. But that's basically what I've also taken.
You're absolutely right, and
Harnessed even more. Thank you. I'm sorry, my voice is a little bit down. Yeah,
no,
but
we
yeah.
heard you loud and clear.
Thank you.
So you are on the money, and perhaps so I do talk about trust, and actually I talk about it under integrity, because that trust, honesty, and all that stuff will come from integrity. Integrity simply means I do what I say when I say I'll do it. In other words, you are the same person at night as that you are during the day. So perhaps in the next one, we'll just actually pick it up in leadership and integrity, and then we can break it down nicely.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, my leader. Thank you so much. Is there any other hand? I know there were two people who wanted to speak when Ms. Makosa was going to speak. Is there anyone? If there is, while I'm waiting to hear anyone, please try and write on the chat box there that you need to talk, because apparently there's a challenge of raising a hand. Mr. Moyo, can I just for the interest of our viewers on Facebook and everywhere, can you answer this one? Can you be a leader without power, without followers? Because a lot of people say power, leadership with power. And I'm intentionally asking this because some people, in the context of the South African Leadership Gentlemen's Club, SALGC in short, we encourage leadership to be unearthed inside of every man. And we are saying to men and boys, you do not have to be in a position to be a leader. You need to be a leader in your community where you are. Because always people think leadership is being deployed elsewhere, but we are not being able to show leadership influence where you are, in your surroundings, in your community, in your home, as a father, as a brother, as a boyfriend, as a partner, as that. Can you maybe talk to that?
So so you're on the money. In fact, if you look at this, that's why I shared the steps to leadership. I was purposely doing that because it's good to understand. You notice that in the steps, there's nothing that says power, that says position. You're a leader when you embrace your identity, when you harness talents and gifts in pursuit of purpose, purpose generates your conviction, your vision, your passion, your inspiration. In other words, then you have influence. So you can have influence without position. In fact, there's many people who have influence, but they're not position. And we see it even in corporate. I mean, if I spend a lot of time in corporates. Sometimes the CEO is not the one running the show. There's some guy somewhere who doesn't have a position, but is. So power is not necessary for influence. Some of the most influential people, when you think about the United Kingdom bowing down to Gandhi, Mahatma Gandhi did not have power. He was just a guy, ordinary guy people couldn't understand, but that's power. You can bring the nation to a standstill. That's power. It comes from influence. Whenever you can, so influence is about people giving up their own to follow you. Not being forced, they decide to follow you because you're so influential. Let me read something at the back of my book on leadership. I said, there are figures who hold positions of authority, prime ministers, presidents, and CEOs, who may not be leaders at all. They may have the power to force people to do what they say, but they have no followers. They excite no admiration. They inspire no emulation. And then there may be leaders who hold no official position at all, but who are turned to for advice and are held up as role models. They have no power, but great influence. A kid at a primary school can have amazing influence and move the entire Soweto to do something.
Yeah.
And we see it in our homes. I mean, think about it. Your kids have got influence on you. We just don't encourage them as much, but they have. It's amazing how people with no position are actually, we see it every day, they're so influential. But we're so stuck in, no, if I was the CEO, I could change something. No, leadership is something needs to be done, I'm going to do it. That's leadership. And somebody once said, leadership is never given, it is assumed. You decide, I'm gonna take leadership. This is wrong, I'm gonna get it right. You guys have decided, our boys need to be mentored. You didn't ask for a minister to give you permission or no. You set up the Gentleman's Club. And you are slowly beginning to shift. And that's leadership. It might be a few people now, but I mean, in 5 years, in 10 years' time, it's a movement across the entire African continent. Influence.
This is the aim. This is the purpose. This is the plan. Yeah.
Yes.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
I
see here there's comments from Mr.
people
Bongani. He says time, relationship, and thinking.
So what I normally find is that after a talk like this, people are reflecting that more often than not, there's no question because there's a lot to chew on.
Yeah.
So what you can do is you can give people my details so they can either email me, they can WhatsApp. Once they've digested this and if they want to have a chat, we can also do that. I'm quite open to people just contacting me.
Yeah, it's a mouthful that we have given, truly inspirational. And I'm sure people are mulling over it and they're absorbing and reflecting on themselves and over what you have said. I'm going to try one time to see if there's a hand going because we're scheduled to finish at 6. We've got 25 minutes to go. If there's no question, then let's see what's happening here. Okay, you have been thanked here.
Leadership.
Yes, sir.
No, it's
Yes,
fine. You
Malika.
can go through that, and I will come after you.
Oh, okay. I was reading this. Yeah, I was reading this comment after Mr. Klaba. Thank you, leadership, for the powerful, inspirational talk, insightful talk. There is not a question, but just a comment. The talk has planted a seed in me to question my reflect as the year ends. Who am I? Powerful, powerful, powerful. From Mr. Bongani Klaba. Thank you, my leader. We've got that. Yes, Mr. Schale.
Thank you very much, leadership, and thank you very much also to Mr. Max Moyo. A very powerful lecture indeed, and an eye-opener to many of us who are, if I can say, in the novice level for leadership. So Thank you very much. And I picked for myself one thing that I think many people confuse when coming to leadership, because I heard him saying that leadership can be there without authority, and authority can be there still with no leadership. So a lot of people have learned that when you mention the issue of leadership with them, they first have to check, where do I belong? Am I going to be in the forefront per se, by the virtue of ranks and all that? Little do they realize that leadership, you can even lead from the back, because leadership, I even enjoyed when he said, is about influence, not really of authority as such, but influence. Because at some point it's just about the chair that you are given to say you are so and so, you are in the position of leadership, but not all of them who are put to be in the authority seats are really leaders. Because to me, leadership, you should be checking, where are you leading people? So I really got touched when he mentioned that aspect, and I realized that most of us, more especially the upcoming out leaders who are hoping to be leaders, we often confuse that when coming into these issues of leadership. Power, authority, we confuse them with leadership as a single entity. So thank you very much for a very powerful lecture, and I wish to access the slides. They're really going to benefit me personally. I'm very grateful. Thank you very much.
Thank you, my leader. Appreciate it. Mr. Moyo?
Thank you. So yeah, no, you are on the money. I mean, in fact, once we understand that leadership has nothing to do with power position, then we are free. It frees us to actually do what we want to do. Often, I mean, I think about communities, how if your school is not functional, you don't need the government. You can get people together and sort out that. If the community, people are giving problems, set up something, sort it out. In other words, the question is here, whenever you say something, somebody needs to do something about this, turn that to say, I need to do something about it. And you just start. Other people will doubt and whatever, but as you make progress, you'll be amazed at how many people will join. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm having my generator has been running for a while, so I have to turn it off. If there are no questions, because if I turn off the generator, then I don't have power. Have I lost you guys?
Mr. Max, I am not sure if my chairperson is still with us, but then in the absence of questions, let me see if I can try to get him. No, I think he's lost, and some of the members have also went out. But then let me take the opportunity to really thank you for taking your time and effort in preparation of this lecture. The few that were able to attend really have taken so much knowledge and wisdom home, and because we are from different places, surely we will also disseminate the lesson that we have learned through this lecture and the interaction that we had with yourself and other leaders in the lecture. So thank you very much. I don't know, I think Mr. Chairperson is back, so maybe he can give his last word before we release you. Thank you very much, Mr.
Thank you.
Thank you, my leader. Thank you so much for holding the fort. Network this side. I had to quickly make a plan B to, like Mr. Moyo has done. Always have a plan B if you are in this type of business. So if there's any, let me just check if there's anyone who has a question or a comment that we can read. In the absence of that, of the questions and comments, Mr. Moyo, I would like to officially just welcome you to SALGC and wish that you become really a strategic partner and a member of this club. You can go to our website and see what you can contribute there in terms of wisdom, knowledge, and what you can help us to bring the nation together. It's through people like yourself and many others who have been here that we have asked that, guys, we can't do this alone. we are not oblivious to the fact that there's a massive job to be done to achieve what you want to achieve, and no one said it's really ever going to be easy. We know it's a Hercule job. It's a Herculean job to try and put men together and make everyone realize the leadership inside of them. And we appreciate that you have put commercial things aside and say, I'm contributing to my nation to bring people together. And for that, we will be forever indebted to you. Note that SALGC will come back again to you and say, we need round 2 of the talk. What you have planted here, it's very deep, and I'm sure a lot of people here would like to have access to those slides. If you can forward them to me, I'll be able to distribute to them with your details, of course, because what we need is for them to reach to you for anything that they need in terms of what you have presented, and
Okay.
your work and your work as well that we have done, your books that you have written. I'm sure people would like to have access to them. Is there just in closing comment? Is there social media out where the people can reach you? Where can they reach you and all that? And in closing,
So,
maybe also a closing thought.
I'm on Twitter. It's official Max Moyo. Facebook is Max Moyo. Instagram is Max Moyo. So just look up Max Moyo. I think it's easy. And my website, same thing, www.maxmoyo.com or ignitemypotential.com. So you can find me there. But my number is also available even on social media. So please get in touch with me. Let's chat.
Okay, great stuff. And then your books, where are they accessible?
My books is direct, so I sell my books myself. So you can just contact me. And if you're not in Gauteng, we do post office to post office. So it's not a problem.
Okay, great
Yeah.
stuff. With that said, Mr. Moyo, and in the absence of any hand here coming, I would like officially from SALGC to thank you very much for giving us this talk. And please let it not be the first and the last time you show your face here. We really, truly are looking forward to a very fruitful, empowering relationship with you going forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great stuff. Thank you. Thank you everyone for making it up for this meeting. And we are planning on having the final lecture. Am I left alone talking?
I'm still here. You can talk.
Oh, okay. Yeah. We were planning on having the final lecture of the year next week, in not fortnightly as we usually do, but next week we have a speaker lineup from the US. So we're hoping that it will be our last for this year, and then going forward it will be all the plans for next year. But with that
Okay.
said, thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it, and looking forward to. For those who will not meet, we wish you the best of festive season, and please take care of yourself. The COVID is real out there. Take care of yourself, guys. And there's so many controversial stories on the media. We're glad that you read and you share.
Thank you so much for a
Thank
beautiful
you.
lecture today.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. All right. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
We'll be right, Sis Makrotazana.
Ngiyabonga sisi ngizokufonela uma ngithole I'll phone you ne.
All right, thanks.
Catch up. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Well, yeah, great. Thank you.
Thank you.